Hello and welcome to a book review that's going to annoy an entire fandom. So yeah, like I said, this book review is going to annoy a fandom that probably loves these characters, if the TV series is anything to go by. But I read the fourth book in the Bridgerton series, that being Romancing Mr. Bridgerton. And this is the love story of Colin Bridgerton and Penelope Featherington. Let's get into the blurb. So I'll be reading off Goodreads because this Illumicrypt book doesn't come with any blurbs. You can see I've got tabs. I mean business. If my book is tabbed, I mean business. And boy, do I. But, the blurb. Everyone knows that Colin Bridgerton is the most charming man in London. Penelope Featherington has secretly adored her best friend's brother for, well, it feels like forever. After half a lifetime of watching Colin Bridgerton from afar, she thinks she knows everything about him, until she stumbles across his deepest secret, and fears she doesn't know him at all. Colin Bridgerton is tired of being thought nothing but an empty-headed charmer, tired of everyone's preoccupation with the notorious gossip columnist Lady Whistledown, who can't seem to publish an edition without mentioning him in the first paragraph. But when Colin returns to London from a trip abroad, he discovers nothing in his life is quite the same, especially Penelope Featherington, the girl haunting his dreams. But when he discovers that Penelope has secrets of her own, this elusive bachelor must decide, is she his biggest threat, or his promise of a happy ending? And you can see by my side eye, I'm just going to get it out of the way. I gave this book 2 stars out of 5. For reasons we'll get into. But I mean, it starts off alright. I have thoughts about the people in this book. Because, as I said, now this is going to contain spoilers. I'll just get that right out of the way. If you haven't seen the TV series, or you're planning to, you haven't read the books, and you're planning to, this contains spoilers, and it contains spoilers from now. Because Penelope Featherington is the best thing about this book. I found reading her character in the book a lot more interesting than watching her character on the screen. Now, Nicola Coughlan, I can't remember how to pronounce her second name. She brings so much to the character, but I just find the book Penelope is a more interesting character. Maybe because we're inside her head. But I found her a lot more interesting, engaging character. She seemed to have just a lot more depth to her than she does in the series. Colin Bridgerton, however, how they pull the character on the TV series out of this is nothing short of a miracle. Because in this, Colin Bridgerton is completely insufferable. He's trash. He's a trash bag of a man. And the way he behaves towards Penelope is just... Really, dude? Really? And that is even before he finds out that Penelope Featherington is Lady Whistledown for over a decade. In the TV series, it's like 3 years. It's her 3rd season out. In this, it has been well over a decade that she's been publishing as Lady Whistledown. When Colin finds out, because he finds out pretty much as he did in the series by following her and doing, a little bit of stalking, because what's a romance without a little bit of stalking involved? Because God forbid she should have something of her own. But he follows her, finds out she's Lady Whistledown, and this is, he finds out halfway through the book that that's who she is, and for the rest of the book is just filled with his tantrums. He has so many tantrums about her being Lady Whistledown. It's ridiculous. ridiculous, and he is insufferable for it. He is the very definition of a toxic male. He is angry and jealous of Penelope for over half of this book, and not even the first half. This is the back half, so you're already committed to finishing this. And he is angry, he is petulant, he is jealous, and he is spoiled. And in between having all of those negative feelings, we are supposed to believe that he falls in love with her. Pure love, pure, sweet, loving, loves her for everything that she is. Except that. Except the fact that she's better at writing than he is. Except that she's successful on her own. Except that she dared to have a secret after he'd known her for all of her life. How dare she? The audacity of her. There's a point when Penelope's secret of being Lady Whistledown is having threatened exposure. She's being blackmailed by Cressida, and she tells him, and he is happy about it. Like, he can do a big, "Oh, I told you so, I told you this wouldn't end well. You know, I told you not to do it. You should believe me and do as I say." It's like, really, dude? He's happy because he feels that she should not. She should be scared of what she's accomplished. The fact that she is so confident in the personality that she's been able to put out as Lady Whistledown to be the better version of herself. He likes the fact that she's scared now of the consequences. He enjoys her being scared. Now, Penelope is wonderful in this book because she even finds Colin's journal writings about when he's been travelling, and she reads it, and he gets all insecure about it. This is before he finds out she's a writer. And when she tells him that she's really enjoying reading it and she thinks that he should publish it because he's a very good writer, he just goes all inside his head and doesn't believe her, and he's insecure about it, which gets completely blown up when he finds out that she herself is a published famous writer for over a decade, which plays on how insecure he is of himself. And when she says, "But you're a good writer too," he just won't believe her because he thinks she's just placating him, just throwing him a sop because she's a lot better than he is, which she is. Of course she is. She's been doing it for a decade. Of course she's going to be better. But she's a woman. How dare she? And he's even miffed that even if he did publish his thing, he can't get over thinking that whatever he does, whatever he achieves with his writing, it's of no consequence because she did it first. He has got that kind of mentality. Toxic. No. Julia Quinn tries to pull him out of being the most awful character that he is, but because we are in Colin's head and he actually acknowledges the way that he's thinking is not the way that he's supposed to be thinking. He should be applauding his wife's, achievements. But he knows that he's jealous and he just leans more into that. And he knows that he shouldn't take his insecurities out on Penelope, which he does verbally and physically, I might add. He leaves bruises on her and knows he has and hopes that it serves as a reminder, even if he feels bad about it the next day. Just throw the whole man away. Just no. Honestly, the TV series pulled so much out of the bag to make Colin and Penelope's story likeable, like they did, because it isn't. At least not in my opinion, it's not likeable at all. Colin Bridgerton is a dumpster fire of a man. Now, another reason why I like Penelope is that at one point she acknowledges to herself, she is self-aware enough that she says to herself that she finds she doesn't actually know Colin at all. She has been pining after this man for well over a decade, and she realises that the version of him that she's built up in her head has no flaws, and the real thing is very, very different, and she really doesn't know him behind closed doors at all. Because the man that she has put on a pedestal that she has fallen in love with is actually a petulant, spoiled brat who can't seem to get out of his own way or his own head. But because Colin is sometimes kind to her, kinder than the rest of the ton who just ignores her like she isn't there, because now after a decade of being out, she is relegated to an old maid, so she's not going to be a woman of society. She's just not going to be that. But because he's kind to her and takes the time to talk to her and treat her like a human being some of the time, then she just keeps gravitating towards him. The more he interacts with her, the more she gravitates towards him, even though he starts behaving like a child. She loves him, so she sticks with him. Now, there is a scene in this book, I was still sort of 50-50 on him, whether to give him a chance or whether he's going to redeem himself, but there was a scene that just cinched my dislike of Colin Bridgerton in the book. I don't know whether it was in the TV series because I haven't watched it. But in the book, and it's only a little paragraph, it's only like a couple of like a sentence paragraph. I think I was annoyed enough that I tabbed it. I did tab it. Now I'm going to read this, and I want to see if you find it as problematic as I have. So Colin and Brit, I'm going to set the scene. Colin and Penelope are at their engagement announcement ball, and Penelope has agreed that she will no longer publish as Lady Whistledown, but she has one last edition coming out. Colin doesn't know. And it's scheduled for the Monday after the weekend. But the printer, she doesn't know what happens. She thinks he wants to capitalise on the fuss around her ball, because of course he doesn't know who she is, and distributes it at their engagement ball, which pisses Colin off no end, because Penelope deceived him by doing it again when he specifically told her not to do it, and she should have listened to him. So he is just seethingly angry because he is jealous of her. He is spoiled that she has thwarted him and gone against what he wanted her to do. And they're at their engagement ball, and Anthony is making like a toast to them to, say, I'm happy they got engaged, welcome to the family. So Anthony makes his announcement. Here we go. It should have been a perfect moment, Colin thought dispassionately. It was to have been Penelope's night of triumph, her night to shine, to show the world how beautiful and lovely and smart she really was. Nothing's stopping people thinking that. It was his night to make his intentions well and truly public, to make sure that everyone knew that he had chosen her, and just as importantly, that she had chosen him. It's always him before her, and all he wanted to do was take her by the shoulders and shake her until he ran out of strength. Red flag. She was jeopardising everything. She was putting her very future at risk. And Anthony goes on with his toast. Colin looked down at Penelope. She was standing very straight and very still in her dress of ice blue satin. She wasn't smiling, which must have looked odd to the hundreds of people staring at her. But maybe they would just think that she was nervous. There were hundreds of people staring at her after all. Anyone would be nervous. Nobody else knows she's Lady Whistledown, by the way. Only him, and he's all in his head. Although, if one was standing right next to her, as Colin was, one could see the panic in her eyes, the rapid rise and fall of her chest as her breathing grew faster and more erratic. She was scared. This is their engagement ball, by the way. Good. She should be scared. Scared of what could happen to her if a secret came out. Scared of what would happen to her once they had a chance to talk. And Anthony keeps going on with his little toast. Colin and Penelope. Colin, now this is the part. The other stuff is just... But this just finally did it for me. Colin looked down at his hand and realised that someone had placed a glass of champagne in it. Now there are hundreds of people at this ball, all staring at Colin and Penelope, and this is the first time in Penelope's life that she has been the centre of attention, and she is scared of doing something wrong. She is scared because the Lady Whistledown leaflet has gone out, and she is scared of the man's standing next to her that she loves reaction. Colin looked down at his hand and realised that someone had placed a glass of champagne in it. He lifted his glass, started to raise it to his lips, and then thought the better of it, and touched it to Penelope's mouth instead. The crowd cheered wildly, and he watched as she took a sip, and then another and another, forced to keep drinking until he removed the glass, which he did not do until she was finished. Then he realised that his childish display of power had left him without a drink, which he badly needed, so he plucked Penelope's glass from her hand and downed it in a single gulp. He leaned down and whispered in her ear, "We're going to dance now. We're going to dance until the rest of the party joins us and we're no longer the centre of attention, and then you and I will slip outside, and then we will talk." Throw the whole man away. The man is trash. Absolutely not. That is abuse. It reminded me of like the cake smashing at a wedding. The groom smashes the cake in the bride's face, and she's supposed to be happy about that because it's just a prank, bro. But no. Throw the whole man away. Just Penelope, get rid of him. I found myself wishing fervently that Penelope would just take the rose-tinted glasses off and throw the whole man away and see Colin Bridgerton for the man-child that he is. But of course, it's a romance. It didn't happen, but I wished it would. I mean, he forces champagne down her throat, and she's scared, so her throat will be closed, and all these people are watching her. She's so nervous. She is scared of this man's reaction to it. And he forces drink down her throat, and he acknowledges that it was a childish power play, and we're supposed to think the better of him for that because he acknowledged his bad behaviour. It just didn't, his moral compass just didn't stretch far enough, or his love for her didn't stretch far enough to make him second guess what he wanted to do. Of course not. He's awful. I just didn't feel any chemistry between Colin and Penelope in this book. It just was non-existent for me. It wasn't there. Even before I wanted to throw the whole man away, even in the beginning, there was just nothing. I mean, Penelope has yearned over Colin for over a decade. He is who she has fallen in love with, and nothing that he does will change her mind on that. But it just seems like Colin he's like it's not like this, they've aged him up or aged him down in the series to what they are in here. I think Penelope's in her late 20s, Colin's in his sort of mid-30s. He's feeling immense societal and family pressure to get married, to conform to society norms, and he does want to do it, but it feels like he settles for Penelope because he knows she loves him, and she's there, and he gets along with her, and they have nice conversation, and he thinks she's pretty, and then he just likes sleeping with her. He likes thinking of having sex with her. And it comes across a lot of times that Colin settles for her, but he thinks that she should be grateful that he has, or that he is interested in her. She should be grateful of that. What should she be grateful about? Having a spoiled man baby? But because there is nobody else, and it's either marry Colin, who she's been in love with for over a decade, or stay an old maid, of course she's going to marry him. She loves him. Now, I like how Penelope thinks of things, because I tabbed this bit as well because it was quite profound, and it's quite alright, well, it's good right for her. And this is just after they get married, and it really shows what Penelope thought Colin's reaction was going to be. The person that she thought Colin was, the Colin that she's fell in love with, the Colin that she's idolised and kind of made up in her mind. So 1 week later, nothing had changed except, Penelope reflected, her last name. The wedding had been magical. It was a small affair, much to the dismay of London society. And the wedding night, well, that had been magical too. And, in fact, marriage was magical. Colin was a wonderful husband. Teasing, gentle, attentive, except when the topic of Lady Whistledown arose. Then he became, well, Penelope wasn't sure what he became, except that he was not himself. Gone was his easy grace, his glib tongue, everything wonderful that made him the man she'd loved for so very long. In a way, it was almost funny. For so long, all of her dreams had revolved around marrying this man. And at some point, those dreams had come to include her telling him about her secret life. How could they not? In Penelope's dreams, her marriage to Colin had been a perfect union, and that meant complete honesty. In her dreams, she sat him down, shyly revealed her secret. He reacted first with disbelief, then with delight and pride. How remarkable she was to have fooled all of London for so many years. How witty to have written such clever turns of phrase. He admired her for her resourcefulness, praised her for her success. In some of the dreams, he even suggested that he become her secret reporter. It had seemed the sort of thing Colin would enjoy, just the sort of amusing, devious task that he would relish. And in the first 3 books, that character Colin would have. But that wasn't the way it had turned out. That's an understatement. He said he wasn't ashamed of her, and maybe he even thought that was true, but she couldn't quite bring herself to believe him. She'd seen his face when he swore that all he wanted was to protect her. But protectiveness was a fierce, burning feeling, and when Colin was talking about Lady Whistledown, his eyes were shuttered and flat. She tried not to feel so disappointed. She tried to tell herself that she had no right to expect Colin to live up to her dreams, that her vision of him had been unfairly idealised, but she still wanted him to be the man she dreamed of. And she felt so guilty for every pang of disappointment. This was Colin. Colin, for heaven's sake. Colin, who was as close to perfect as any human being could ever hope to be. She had no right to find fault with him. And yet, she did. But she cherished her marriage, and awkward moments aside, she cherished her husband. And so she stopped mentioning Lady Whistledown, her fantastic writing achievement for over a decade. She was tired of Colin's hooded expression. She didn't want to see the tight lines of displeasure around his mouth. She is scared of his reactions. His, the tightening of his mouth, and suddenly she doesn't want to mention that part of her. To the guy who says he loves her. And love means loving all of a person. Not just the good stuff, but the bad stuff as well. And the complicated stuff. And all that other stuff aside. And not acting like a spoiled man baby because she does something better than you. And I even wrote some of the trash things that Colin says in this book, so that it's not just the 2 scenes that I've read out here. It is, I have it written down, so I have my flag. Some of the bad things that Colin has said is just to show that he is just a trash human being. And I've written them down, I've got them here, so I'm going to be looking off here. Different scenes throughout the book. Quote number 1. Still, it was too bad. He's talking about Penelope at the beginning of this book, and now she's such a nice person. Still, it was too bad about her lack of popularity. She would have made someone a perfectly good wife. Not him, though. Not him, because she ain't popular enough. She ain't pretty enough. She ain't well thought of enough. And this is about... Oh, this is the piece of some of the blackmail bit. Her voice rose slightly in volume. Cressida said she was Lady Whistledown and she wasn't ruined. Because Penelope wants to come out and say, it's not Cressida, I'm not having her taking the credit for something I've worked on for over a decade. Her voice rose slightly in volume. Cressida said she was Lady Whistledown and she wasn't ruined. Because Colin threatens her that she's going to be ruined. That's because no one believed her, Colin replied. And besides, he added without thinking, she's different. She turned to him slowly, very slowly, with steadfast eyes. Different how? Something akin to panic began to pound in Colin's chest. He'd known he wasn't saying the right words even as they'd spilled from his lips, but they were exactly what he was thinking. How could one little sentence, one little word be so very wrong? She's different. They both knew what he'd meant. Cressida was popular. Cressida was beautiful. Cressida could carry it all off with aplomb. Penelope, on the other hand, and he's going to think Penelope isn't any of those things. Not beautiful, not brilliant. She was Penelope, Penelope Featherington, and she hadn't the clout nor the connections to save her from ruin. He wants to save her. And he does so by belittling her achievements and the way she looks and the way she acts and her social standing. And at their engagement party, after he, or before, I can't remember whether it's after or before the scene that I read out, in his sort of speech to the crowd, he says, I know that many of you were surprised when I asked Penelope Featherington to be my wife. I was surprised myself. You can't even, big her up in your speech. You just say, oh, well, I'm as surprised as you lot by marrying her. Just throw the whole man away and become a famous independent writer, Penelope, because you don't need him. This man, throw him away. Just get rid of him. You read this for the romance and you stay for the sex. The sex in the series was so hyped up. I saw, even in the run-up to the series, it's like, oh my god, they're going to do the carriage scene. I saw a carriage. It was part of the, the build-up for the series was showing a carriage with Colin and Penelope in it. And I thought, oh, that sex scene is going to be, amazing. It was barely a breath in this book. I don't get why they were hyping it up so much. Just because he asks her to marry him after they have a bit of a fumble in the carriage. And in the show, had a lot more riding on it. There was a lot more tension because she was about to marry somebody else. And he ruins it for her and they get hot and steamy in the carriage. In the book, it's like she's looking pretty and he can't restrain himself. So he just goes with his gut and they have a bit of a fumble and there's no... In the TV series, it's highly implied that he gets to second base. I think that's what Americans call it. With his hands. In the book, that isn't implied at all. They don't really get that far. He's sort of on top of her and, squidges her front bits and that's about as far as it gets before the carriage gets home. Is that really what people were hyping up and hoping to see in the TV series? Pulled so much out of this, it's ridiculous. Because it was only after I read past it that I thought, oh my god, that was the carriage scene. There isn't going to be another, better carriage scene further down the book. That was it. That was it. In that scene, the only thing that gets well ridden is my patience with this book. 2 stars and just... No, No. So yeah, if you've read this book, let me know what your thoughts are down below. Have I managed to piss off an entire fandom? I really don't care. Colin Bridgerton is an awful, awful main character. It's like she's completely annihilated. It's character assassination. That's what she's done to him. Because in the first 3 books, he's quite like a Labrador character. He's quite fun. He's nice. You can see why Penelope would adore him. And it's like, he's nice for like the first half of this book, and then Julia realises that he's actually the main character and he should be broody and angry and jealous, and why? It's like she can't write a nice main male character. And it's such a complete 180 for Colin's temperament and character that it's just trash. So will I be rereading? Absolutely, absolutely not. The next book in the series is To Sir Philip with Love, which is Eloise and Philip's story. And I have heard so many things about that man that, yeah, I'm kind of looking forward to it because I want to find out what happens. But with the men that she can't write a decent guy. I liked Anthony because you had his full backstory about why he is the way he is, and because he has had to shoulder his family from a very young age after a very traumatic death of his father. And Benedict isn't a bad guy. For the times that this is set in, asking someone to become his mistress who is not of the same social class was the norm. There's nothing wrong with that. Colin in this is just jealous and petty and manipulative and awful. I don't see what Penelope sees in him. But yeah. This was my thoughts on Romancing Mr. Bridgerton, the 4th book in the Bridgerton series. And I'm going for a drink.
With the dawn, new hope is born. In this heart no longer torn. Sip the wine, embrace the night. Dark stars journey shining bright. Through the trials, through the pain, love and light shall still remain.